Satsangatve nissangatvam, nissangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nichalatatvam, nichalatatve jivanmuktihi, punarapi jananam, punarapi marana, punarapi janani jatare shayanam. इह संसारे बहुदुस्तारे कृपया पारे पाहि मुरारे।
शंकराचार्य मध्यमाम् स्मृति पुराणानाम् आलयम् करुणालयम् नमामि भगवत्पादम् शङ्करम् लोकशङ्करम्। तस्यान्तस्तिमे लोका सप्तद्वीपा च मेदिनी। So we have covered some portion in the Bhagavad Gita 13th chapter, 2nd shloka, which is very, very crucial for the understanding of the Vedanta, especially Brahman, the nature of Jiva, how the Adhyasa happens, all these things are stated there, especially the Jiva Brahma Aikya. That portion is also highlighted there. So here in the last class, we had seen this argument as the ending argument in the last class. Sarvajantunam hi prasiddhaha dehadisho anatmasu atmabhavaha nishtitaha avidyakritaha yata sthano purusha nishtayaha. So for all beings who are in samsara, that is, who are in ignorance, it's very, very well known that the samsara is because of taking the body-mind complex to be the self. Dehadishu anatmasu. They are not the self, they are not self, and taking them to be the self is the cause for samsara. That is the idea here. Dehadishu anatmasu atmabhavaha nishtitaha avidyakritaha. And it is because of avidya only. It is not because of the fault of any person, because this avidya is the one which even brings about the idea of a jiva. So we cannot say that the jiva is at fault and all that. The avidya is the one which has brought into play the concept of jiva also. So the jiva is never held at fault, held to be at fault in the Vedanta. What the Vedanta faults is, even after knowing that one is in samsara and there is a way to come out of samsara, if a jiva remains in samsara without taking the means to come out of samsara, then only the jiva is faulted. But for having come into samsara, the jiva is not faulted. Sarvajantunam hi prasiddhaha dehadishu anatmasu atmabhavaha nishtitaha. So this is also very important. It is not that a person doubts whether he is the body-mind complex or not. He is totally confirmed, very conclusively he holds that he is the body-mind complex. There is no doubt at all. If there is a doubt, then he should have definitely seen or had exposure to the Vedanta. Then he might have a doubt whether, okay, am I the body-mind complex or am I something else? That kind of a question can come only when someone is exposed to Vedanta, but never otherwise. So, dehadishu atmabhavaha nishtitaha avidyakritaha. For that he is giving the example, sthano purusha nishtayaha. So there is a stub somewhere at some distance. He is not able to know that it is a stub. So he takes it to be a man standing there. So here, purusha nishtayaha. But then this case can be an example for doubt also. Sthanurva purushova. So if he is in doubt whether that's a stub or a human, then it comes under doubt. It doesn't come under nishtaya, adhyasa. So nishtaya means he is confirmed. It is very confirmed to him that it is a human. That is appearing there. Nacha etavata purusha dharmaha sthanoho bhavati. Just because a person concludes that the stub there in reality is actually a person or a human from his point of view, but just because of that, the stub there doesn't become human. It doesn't start displaying human characteristics. So, nacha etavata purusha dharmaha sthanoho bhavati sthanu dharmo va purushasya. Because of his concluding that human there, even the human that he is thinking to be there does not contain the properties of the stump. So this both ways, Adhyasa is not possible just because he is concluding that the what is appearing there is a human, which is opposed to what the fact is. Tata na chaitanya dharmaha dehasya. So in the same way, the body does not acquire the properties of chaitanya, that is Brahman or Atman, which is stated to be Satyam Jnanam Anantam or Satyachit Anandam. So Satyachit Ananda, which are the properties of the Atman, Chaitanyam, they do not become the properties of the body just because he has taken the Chaitanyam to be the body being complex. Deha dharmova chetanasya sukha dukha mohatmakatvadihi. So the body's properties also do not start showing in the Chaitanyam, that is Atman. What those properties are? Sukha dukkha mohatmakatvadihi. So the body mind complex has these properties of happiness, misery, delusion, etc. They don't belong to the Atman. Atmanaha na yuktaha. Avidyakritattva avisheshate jaramrutyavate. So the same way that the body's properties of old age and death do not become the properties of the Chaitanyam. The same way, the properties of the mind, that is Sukha, Dukkha and all that, they do not become the properties of the Atman. That's what it said here. So now we have to go further in this Bhashyam. Na atulyatvat is say. So if the objector raises a question that no, the example you are giving is not appropriate, not relevant or appropriate to this case, what we have in hand, and he is going to explain what that how the example of Sthanu and Purusha will not hold good here. Sthanu Purusha Gneya Veva Santau Nyatra Anyonyasmin Adhyastau Avidya. Dehatmanostu Gnatyoreva Itereta Adhyasaha iti na samaha drishtantah. So in the example that you gave, where a pillar or a stump is available there, and a person is superimposing a human there. Human. So both the human and the pillar or the stump there are they are observable. That is, they are knowable. They are the objects there. So in two objects, there can be a superimposition of one object over the other. But then here, the case we have in hand, the Atman is never an object at all. The Atman can never be an object at all. So in this Atman, you are saying that the body-mind complex is being superimposed. This is what I do not want to accept. Because the example that you have given, that is very clear. Both the pillar or the system and the human, they are outside you and they are observed objects. But here, the Atman is never observed. It is always the subject. So how can there be a superimposition of Anatman in the Atman or the Atman in the Anatman? That Anyonya Adhyasa is not possible. That is the contention of the objector. Ataha deha dharmaha gneyopi jnatuho atmanaha bhavati iti chet na achaitanyadi prasangat. So therefore, the body, the properties of the body, which are, even though they are observed, like for example, the body growing fat or the body becoming lean and all that, they are observed. So the deha dharmaha gneyopi jnatuho atmanaha na bhavati. They cannot become the properties of the Atman. So when such a question is raised, the Siddhantin says, no, it's not like that. Achaitanyadi prasangat. So if you are going to say that the body, the properties of the body are there in the Atman, then the Atman will be subject to the defects or the properties, the other properties of the Achaitanyam or Jada. So the Adi, from the Adi, what we have to take is the Atman will have to become the observed and the Atman will have to become Jada, the Atman will have to become anitya and all that. So because anything that is observed, we see in the world is to be jada, to be insentient, and it is something which is observed, which is an object, and then it is subject to destruction also, anityatwadi prasangat. So all these things are possible in the have to be accepted for the Atman, but nobody, even the objector, doesn't want to accept those things for the Atman. यदि हि ज्ञेयस्य देहादेः क्षेत्रस्य धर्माः सुखदुःखमोहाच्छादयः ज्ञातुः भवन्ति तर्हि ज्ञेयस्य क्षेत्रस्य धर्माः केचित् आत्मनः भवन्ति अविद्याध्यारोपिताः जरामरणाद्यस्तु न इति विशेषहेतुः वक्तव्यः. So here he is dealing with a case where the objector agrees that the body's properties are not there in the Atman. So the body's properties do not belong to the Atman, but the misery, joy, and delusion, etc., which are the properties of the mind, they can be for the Atman. That is what is being repeated here in this passage. यदि हि ज्ञेयस्य देहादेः क्षेत्रस्य धर्माः सुखदुःखमोहेच्छादयः. So ज्ञेयस्य देहादेः, dehadi means deha, body, and the mind aspect also. They are all kshetra. This Upanishad, this Gita's chapter, it calls the body-mind complex to be kshetram. That is the inert principle, prakriti principle. So the properties of this inert principle or the prakriti, that is the body-mind complex, यदि हि ज्ञेयस्य देहादेः क्षेत्रस्य धर्माः सुखदुःखमोहेच्छादयः ज्ञातुः भवन्ति, if they are admitted to the Atman, that is the knower, the body-mind complex is a known object, whereas the Atman is a subject. So if the properties of the object are admitted to be the properties of the knower, of the subject, तर्हि ज्ञेयस्य क्षेत्रस्य धर्माः केचित् आत्मनः भवन्ति अविद्याध्यारोपिताः जरामरणाद्यस्तु न भवन्ति. So if you want to separate the two properties of the body-mind complex and say that some properties of the kshetra, body-mind complex, dukkha, moha, and all that are there for the Atman, but the body, but the death, etc., old age, death, etc., have to say why this is happening. Why only certain properties belong to the Atman and certain do not belong to the Atman. You will have to give a clear reason for your statement. Na bhavanti iti asti anumanam. So there is a anumanam to show that the body-mind, the old age, etc., are not for the Atman. अविद्याध्यारोपितत्वात् जरामरणादिवत् इति हेयत्वात् उपादेयत्वाच्च इत्यादि. So the properties of the body-mind complex, because of avidya, if they are held to be in the Atman, the properties of the body-mind complex, so the body, that is old age and death, etc., are attributed to the Atman, then we will have to encounter a situation where certain things are advantages, or they are something which can be admitted, and certain things are not advantages and they will have to be rejected. So this admitting and rejecting these two things will have to be encountered by a person if he is going to say that certain properties belong to the Atman and certain do not. Like, for example, in the Atman, nobody wants to say that the Atman is anitya, but then the property of the anatman is anitya. So that anityatva will have to be admitted, and nobody wants to say that the Atman is insentient, jada, but then the property of the anatman will have to be admitted here also. So this is the problem. Tatra evam sati ज्ञेयस्य ज्ञातरे अविजया अध्यारोपितः इति न तेन ज्ञातुः किञ्चित् दृश्यति यथा बालैः अध्यारोपितेन आकाशस्य तलमलिनत्वादिना. So the Vedantin is now giving the reply that since this is a case where there is a superimposition, and the properties of the body-mind complex are not naturally the properties of the Atman, definitely there is a superimposition. So the superimposition will be articulated in this manner. Kartritva saraha jneyasya jnatari avidyaya adhyaropitaha. So the properties of the kshetram, that is the observed, that is the object, which are kartritva, bhoktartva, etc., which constitute samsara, if they are admitted to be the properties of the Atman due to avidya and they are superimposed, then just because someone has superimposed these things on the Atman is not going to be affected by them. It is not, the Atman is not going to be at a loss. Na tena jnatuhu kinchit dushyati. Jnata is the subject, that is the Atman. Just because someone superimposes the body-mind complex properties on the Atman is not going to be affected. Just like, for example, just because a person is taking the rope to be a snake, the rope is not going to be affected in any manner. This statement has been made by the Bhashyakara in the Adhyasa Bhashya itself. Adhyastasya gunena va doshena va anumatrena api satsambhadyate. So the adhishtanam will not be in any way affected by the properties of the superimposed. So we remember an example given in the Panchadashi by Swami Vidyaranya. In the in a forest, there is a tree called munja. That is no, not munja. It is gunja. Gunja is that it's a red color bird. It is called Guruganji in Kannada. It will have so many other names, other words in the other languages also. Sometimes during the Ganesha festival, they use this for denoting the eyes of Ganesha. So it will be sometimes black in color, black and red in color, sometimes totally red in color. So this comes in a plant. So here Vidyaranya is visualizing a situation where in a forest, the tree which yields this berry, it's a kind of a berry. It is when it drops on the floor and becomes a kind of a heap, then for a person who is seeing that heap from a distance, especially when there have been dewdrops on the heap and sun is shining on it, it will look like there is a fire somewhere at that place. So just because a person superimposes or concludes that there is a fire there, the heap of this gunja, that will not get burnt. So that is the statement here. That is the example he gives there. Gunja punjadi na dahyeta anyaropita vanhina. So in the same way here also Bhagavad gives the example. Avidya kritatva avisheshate jara mrityavate. So sthanu dharmaha, yeah, here. That is the example he has given is the adhyaropitena akashasya talamalinatvadina. So the akasha, which is pure and which can't be tainted by anything. But then children or ignorant people who do not know the property of the akasha, they attribute the blackness or the kind of inverted dome, these kind of shapes, they attribute to the akasha, even though they do not belong to the akasha. So that is the example he gives here. So just because they attribute this to the akasha is not going to have these attributes really. Then the discussion proceeds to the next level. Evam cha sati sarvakshetreshapi sataha bhagavataha kshetrajnasya ishwarasya samsaritva gandhamatramapi na ashankyam. So since this is the case, the Paramatma, that is Bhagavan, that is Paramatma, Kshetrajna, that is Ishvara, which is available in all the body, each and every body, as the consciousness inside, the consciousness part of it is not going to be tainted by samsaritvam. So samsaritvam can happen only due to adhyasa, but in truth, the Atman will remain ever pure and ever unaffected. The samsaritva is only an imagination of the person who thinks that he is a samsari. And because of the adhyasa that has taken place between the Atman body-mind complex. Nahi kvasidapi loke avidyastena dharmena kasichit upakaraha apakaro va drishtaha. So this statement he makes in the Adhyasa Bhashya also. Adhyastasya gunena doshena va anumatrena api na sambhadyate. So if a person superimposes a snake on a rope, the properties of the snake, like being poisonous and all that, the rope is not going to be affected, or rope is not going to become poisonous. And so there can be gunam also. Like for example, if someone is superimposing silver in a shell, the shell is not going to be a valuable material called silver just because a person has superimposed it on it. So nahi kvachidapi loke avidyadhyastena dharmena kasyachit upakaraha apakaro va drishtaha. So there is neither upakara nor apakara because it's adhyasa. Because even if he thinks that okay, there is a piece of silver here, I am going to become richer by the value of the silver, he is not going to be helped by it. Or if a person thinks that here is a snake which is very poisonous and all that, even that is not going to be real. So the adhishtanam will not be affected by any positive or negative things which can be attributed to the superimposed object. So the adhishtanam will always ever remain unaffected by any of the superimpositions. Uktam, now he is going back to another statement the objector had made, and he is addressing that. Yettu uktam na samahadishtantaha iti tat asate. So he had said that you are giving a incompatible or wrong analogy here of the stanu and purusha. For that he is now replying, tat asate. It is not true. What you think that it is an incompatible analogy, that obviously it's not true. Adhyasa matram hi drishtanta dashtantakayoho sadharmyam vivakshitam. When we gave that example, what we have intended is that the adhyasa, that is the superimposition happening because of avidya, that alone we had implied that alone. Not the aspects like the human and the pillar being outside. That is not intended by us. What we had intended to show is through that energy that there is an adhyasa, and because of the adhyasa there can be problems. That's what we had intended. That's all we had intended. And you taking that analogy to be incompatible is ignorance only. So sadharmyam vivakshitam. Tatena vibhicharati. So that aspect does not become faulted. Then yato jnatari vibhicharati iti manyase tasyapi anekantikatvam darshitam jaradivihi. So if you think that in the jnata, that is in the subject, the adhyasa is going to affect the subject by making the subject amenable to the properties of the body and mind, we had also already addressed that also by giving the example of the old age and death, etc. So even you do not want the old age and death to be attributed to the Atman, but you want to take only the attributes of the Antakaranam to be available in the Atman. That we have already addressed that issue. Then going further, avidyavatvat kshetrasya samsaritvam iti chet na avidyayaha tamasatvat. Now he is coming to a different dimension altogether. Now the objector says that the Atman, that is the kshetrajna, that is the knower, that is the one which is aware of the object, that knower, that chaitanyam, it is itself affected by avidya. That is, the kshetrajnam or the Atman itself has avidya as its property. Before this, the question of the properties of the anatman being attributed to the Atman, they were taken up. But now the discussion has moved to a very deeper level, much deeper level, where the avidya itself is for the Atman. This is a very important question, and that is being discussed now. The discussion is very, very crucial to the understanding of the Vedanta. Avidyavatvat kshetragnasya samsaritvam iti chet. because of avidya only, that is, because Kshetrajna himself is endowed with avidya, there is samsara for him. For that, the Siddhanti very emphatically says, no, na, avidyayaha tamasatvat. This is a concise reply, which will be elaborated. Because avidya is of the nature of tamas. Tamas is darkness. Whereas Atman is of the nature of prakasha, which is the one which illuminates everything. But avidya is the one which is of the nature of darkness. Tamaso hi pratyayaha आवरणात्मकत्वात् अविद्या विपरीतग्राहकः संशयोपस्थापको वा अग्रहणात्मको वा विवेकप्रकाशभावे तदभावात् तामसे च आवरणात्मके तिमिरादिदोषे सति अग्रहणादेः अविद्यात्रयस्य उपलब्धेः. So this is a very important concept in Vedanta, which is being dealt by the Acharya. This avidya is of the nature of tamas, that is darkness. Now he gives the three types of effects of this avidya. So this avidya, which is of the nature of tamas, it can express itself in three ways. One is avaranatmakatvat avidya viparita grahakaha. So since avidya is of the nature of enveloping or covering, it will express itself in three ways. That is viparita grahaka. That one is taking one to be the other. That is taking the rope to be a snake. That is viparita grahana. That is one. Another is samshayopastaka. Samshayopasthapakaha. That is, this avidya alone is at the base of even doubt also. Wherever there is a doubt, there is ignorance about the thing that we are doubting about. So, since only because we do not know the material in front of us, the spherical material in front, we try to, we get a doubt that whether it is rubber or wood. So, if we had known that it is a rubber ball, then we would not come into this doubt at all. So, ignorance is at the base of doubting also. So, ignorance is at the base of taking one to be the other, that is number one. Ignorance is at the base of taking, at the base of doubting also, whether this is this or whether it is A or B. So, samshayopasthapako va, then agrahanatmako va. The third one is not knowing that thing at all. That is, ignorance is at the base of not knowing the object in front of us, that is a rope. So, he is walking there, there is darkness there fully. So he doesn't know that there is a rope at all there. So that case comes under agrahana. When he knows that there is an object there, and that object, because of some insufficient light and all that, he takes it to be a snake, it is a case of viparita grahanam or adhyasa. If he is in the case of, if the object is also visible, there is somewhat sufficient light there, but there is a doubt in his mind whether it is a rope or a snake, or it is a rope or a garland, or it is a pillar or a human. So that vikalpa, that is, this is whether it is A or B, it comes under the category of doubting. This is, he takes that A to be B only, then it comes the category of viparita grahanam. And if he does not know A at all there, it comes under the category of agrahanam. For all these three expressions of the basic avidya, that is called mula avidya, is at the base. And that is what is of the nature of tamas. And that is what is of the nature of enveloping. Because enveloping causes either wrong error, that is error. Viparita grahana is error. So this enveloping results in either error or in doubt or in total non-cognition at all. So there is wrong cognition, there is doubtful cognition, and there is non-cognition. Non-cognition is agrahanam, not knowing that there is an object in front of you. And viparita grahanam is taking that object to be something else, that is error, wrong cognition. And taking the object is whether it is A or B comes under samshayam or doubtful cognition. So these are the three expressions of avidya. तामसे च आवरणात्मके तिमिरादि दोषे सति अग्रहणादेः अविद्यात्रयस्य उपलब्धेः. So only when this Avarnatmaka, that is the enveloping nature of vidya that is present, only when that is present, then Timiradi dosha sati, that is when this dosha is there, then Agrahanadehe avidyatrayasya upalabdehe. So these three expressions of this avidya can be seen to be experienced by people only when the basic ignorance is there, Mula Vidya is there. So here we will this session. Now in the sequel, whether the Atman is really endowed with avidya or affected by avidya, that will be taken up in the next part of the Bhashya. Mandasyantastu me loka saptadvipa cha medini Shastram Sharira Mimamsa Devastu Parameshwaraha Acharya Shankaracharyaha Santume Janma Janmani Yavani Sampannam Vitaragam Vivekinam Vande Vedanta Tatpagnam Vidushekaram